Hello, one. How many of you are using OpenClaw? Or you may be using Claude Code or Codex, any of the coding agents. Maybe most of you will be using these agents in your day to day life, some or other way. But how many of you are paying your bills for these agents if you are using it through API? If you buy it through Cursor or GitHub Copilot, you will pay a fixed pay like $20 a month. But if you're paying to an API key, right? Don't you feel that these AI agents are hitting a financial wall? Like you will be like paying hundreds and thousands of dollars if you are running Cloud Code because so much tokens it is burning to be autonomous. They store huge histories and tool outputs. The context is keep on growing. Millions of tokens will be burning weekly, right? The results are like you may need to pay like thousands of dollars per month. The worst is nowadays Claude Opus is costing like $25 per million tokens. And I think Claude is coming up with 10 million token model and all, which will be like huge costly. The output will be, the output cost will be really, really high. So now what is the alternative? You can say we can use open source model. So the open source model, using the open source model has two things. If you host yourself, the hardware problem in the sense, do you have hardware for hosting it? Or if you are using through a third-party provider, for example, like Open Router, then is the open source model, is it capable enough? We are going to speak about the second topic, is the open source model becoming capable enough, where the Nvidia's Nemotron 3 super model has been released, where they are trying to dominate the open source industry. So now the developers can use a hybrid systems, like small tasks can be passed to a cheap and open source model, and the hard tasks alone can be passed on to a closed source API providers. It can be like GPT 5.4 or Cloud Opens 4.6. This is called smart routing architecture. But I was telling about the open source models needs to be capable enough. That's why now Nvidia's Nemotron 3 super model has been released. Why Nvidia is doing this? See, this is a strategic move where the open AIs of the world are, I'm saying about open AI, it's not open AI. The open source AI models are slightly unstable right now. If you take Meta, when did they release their open source model last? Llama 4, I guess. How many of you were even aware, or how many of you are using day to day? I think the complete open source LLM industry is by dominating by Chinese companies, and DeepSeek is also facing training issues because they need to move out from Nvidia hardwares and they are using Huawei's hardware, where they are facing so many training issues. Alibaba Quinn team is itself really uncertain. There is a reorg happening in Alibaba, so the person who was leading Quinn just left the company. I think now currently Z.AI GLM models are currently coming up, but not as famous as DeepSeek or Quinn. Quinn was available in all the ranges, from smallest 0.8 billion parameter model to multi-billion parameter models. But there is a gap in the open source model, is what Nvidia also is being suspecting. So for that, I think to fulfill the gap, now they have released Nemotron 3 Super. So Nemotron is a model of series where Nvidia open source for a long time, like till from Llama is being open sourcing, Nvidia's Nemotron also they have started open sourcing. It is the Nemotron 3 super model is a 120 billion parameter model, which is a mixture of agents where 12 billion parameters are only active at the same time. So it is an efficient model. To load the model, you may need 120 billion parameter size of GPUs, but the active parameters will be only 12 billion parameters will be active when you ask one request. So it's more efficient. And the context window length is 1 million. Again, it's insane because the 1 million context window, very few companies like Google, Opus, Claude and OpenAI has this 1 million, and open source models, Quinn also have. But this Nemotron itself, they are bringing 1 million context window. It's a very good thing. And why I am surprised to say the 1 million token is big thing, because it is a hybrid architecture where they have combined Mamba and transformer architecture. Most of the models what you see in the market are transformer based architecture, but they have combined Mamba and transformer. So normal transformers is an expensive for when it becomes a long context window. So if you keep on asking a question and if you're running a long running session, right, that becomes very costly operation for transformers. But Mamba is the Mamba architecture itself built to make when the context window gets higher, the memory will be, it will use a very less memory. So if you want a detailed explanation on Mamba architecture alone, let me know in the comments. But for now, keep in mind that Mamba architecture is something which will help the models to use less memory when the context window is very high, and it can also handle long conversation very cheaply. So this is the advantage for Mamba architecture. So this latent MOE, mixture of experts, also is a very good thing, so that only 12 billion parameter required GPU resources or memory resources will be used. So uses experts in compressed space. Within 120 billion itself, there are multiple experts. Less communication overhead. If multiple requests come at the same time and different experts needs to be used, right, it can just split into and process through this architecture. And more accuracy for this, some very less compute cost also, because you are training as an experts, multiple experts, so more accuracy and a very less compute cost. So the other important thing what Nvidia have done is, Nvidia also released 30 billion parameter model and a 4 billion lightweight parameter model. So these are all called, for simple task, the 4 billion and 30 billion are nano, and the complex reasoning what we were seeing 120 billion is a super model, Nemotron Super. This is really a good Nvidia's business strategy. Let me tell why. So if Nvidia is putting this much effort, money into it, and they are training models, right? Why do you think so? Why, first of all, see why other companies are doing, like Quinn and Chinese companies or GPT OSS models have also been released as open source. Why they are doing? They are doing it for marketing, so that people will come to know about their company and more money will come through their API service. If you open source a model, you will get traction in the industry. And if some other open source community member use the model and give a review on it, so their API will bring us money for the Chinese model or any people who tries to make it open source. But Nvidia is completely different on this game. They make money from their hardware. Let's see how Nvidia plus this AI co-designs make much money for them. See, Nvidia has trained this Nemotron 3 super model on Blackwell B200 GPUs. And the amazing part they have did is, they have used a special format called NVPV4, FP4. Not PV, it's FP4. So NVFP4 is, FP4 is floating point precision is 4. NV is Nvidia's floating point precision 4-bit architecture, 4-bit model size. So this can run only in their Blackwell GPUs. So the vendor lock-in has been done successfully over here. So whomever tries to use this model, they must use their Nvidia's Blackwell B200 GPUs. What benefit this special format NVFP4 brings is, it is 2x faster. It brings the cost lower in inference with the same accuracy. See, when you are lowering your precision, the accuracy also slightly comes down. But when you compare with FP4 or FP16, the same accuracy is achieved at NV4 also with 2x speed, and the inference cost comes down. With all these benefits, if Nvidia is doing, who will say no to it? And Nvidia has this hardware control completely. So if you want to run this model, you need to use Nvidia's hardware. So their saying would be like, if you want the best performance, use Nvidia's GPU. It's as simple as that. Okay. Now let's see what is $26 billion Flywheel. So Nvidia is investing 26 billion in this open source models, like how they build. This open source Nemotron model, right? Why are they pouring 26 billion? 26 billion is an insane amount. Why are they even doing this? Why are they investing this much into open sourcing model, which will bring them no revenue through that model? Okay, the revenue is not coming because of, through that model, but from hardware, everybody knows. But this not only creates that. When developers or researchers start using Nvidia model, and they start, it doesn't stop there. Nvidia release a model, it doesn't stop there. Researchers take up the model, try to optimize and release a new research papers. So they optimize it for Nvidia hardwares. So developers and researchers will get used to Nvidia's hardware. That is the whole point. Nvidia gives college sponsorship, or they provide free GPUs for colleges. That's the only reason. And more GPU demand when developers and researchers start using it. But end of the day, Nvidia makes more money out of all these things. This is called Nvidia's developer Flywheel. So they create something free, people use it, and because people using it, they get went off it. This is the whole point I was coming to tell about Nemotron model. If you want to test me the Nemotron model and give you reviews on it, or if you want something else related to smart architecture or anything, then in the comments, I'll record a separate video for each of them. Thank you for watching this video. See you on the video.